Hi, my name is Dr. Megan Fay, and today I'm going to be talking to you about tools for parents of children with ARFID. Welcome back to my video series on avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. I'm licensed psychologist Dr. Megan Fay. This is the fourth video in my series on ARFID. Today, I'll be talking to you about tips and tools for parents to use with children who struggle with ARFID. If you haven't watched the earlier videos, go back and give them a watch. Today, I'll be building on cognitive behavioral therapy interventions that I discussed in previous videos. Many children and adults with ARFID experience disgust, fear, and avoidance of a variety of foods. When working with kids with ARFID, we want to reinforce the behavior we want to see more of and stop reinforcing the behavior we want to see less of. This means reinforcing trying new things and reducing the ways that we as caregivers may be inadvertently reinforcing avoidance of trying new things. The main tools I'll be discussing for achieving this are the use of reward, reducing parental accommodations, and the use of games in exposure practice. I'll also be talking about different ground rules for helping your child build an appetite and engage with exposure practice more effectively. So let's talk about reward first. Reward is a powerful motivator, especially when it comes to helping kids change their behavior and do hard things. Remember, when you're asking your child to eat avoided foods, you're asking them to do something that they probably find disgusting or scary. They may not have the long-term vision to say, hey, practicing an eating challenge will help me go to sleepovers in the future. However, if you give them the opportunity to earn reward, you're providing an immediate incentive for pushing through fear or disgust so they can build those long-lasting skills. We'll get into different ways to implement a reward system in a few minutes. However, I want to highlight that rewards don't have to be stuff. Earning different privileges can also be rewarding. And even more valuable than items, praising your child's strength in the moment is very powerful and reinforcing of doing challenging things. Now let's talk about the opposite side of the reinforcement coin, parental accommodation. Parental accommodation of anxiety and distress can be very sneaky, and in the moment can feel like good parenting, but unfortunately it can make ARFID worse in the long run. A parental accommodation in this context refers to anything a parent does to rescue a child when they're distressed that actually reinforces the anxiety and undermines their ability to learn how to cope with challenging thoughts and feelings. This can be hard to recognize because being a great parent usually means doing everything you can to make sure your child doesn't feel distress. But when it comes to ARFID, it can actually get in the way. Another way of thinking about this is that food challenges can be hard and stressful, but they also teach valuable skills for handling that stress. Whereas being rescued from the challenge by a parent means that your child loses an opportunity to learn that skill. When it comes to ARFID, by rescuing your child, you may be inadvertently communicating to them that they can't cope with the distress, that it really is too big, and that food really is too dangerous to go towards. Therefore, communicating that avoidance is the best strategy for them. This is the opposite message of what you're probably trying to communicate if you're here watching this video. Some common parental accommodations when it comes to ARFID include rescuing your child when they start to feel upset when confronted with an eating challenge, for instance by removing the challenging food and giving them one of their safe foods instead. Another is providing separate meals or preparations from the rest of the family, helping them avoid triggering foods and situations by no longer going to those places or bringing them their own food to that situation, and providing frequent reassurance to your child about food or what's in it. By doing this, you're reinforcing that need to check or be sure that it's the right food. In all of these instances, it can feel like you're helping your child, but what you're actually doing is helping the ARFID instead. Instead, what we want to do is encourage children to face their fears, to handle hard things, and be flexible. even if it means not knowing for sure what's in their food or not liking something. These are all manageable feelings. And by reducing the ways we're accommodating the ARFID, we're showing our kids that we believe in them, which can feel very powerful. As I covered in previous videos, a major way of helping your child learn to go towards new challenges and handle anxiety and distress is through food exposure practice. You can go back and watch my previous videos to get a refresher on different ways to engage in exposure practice. There are some important ground rules that can be helpful for parents when it comes to helping kids practice challenging their ARFID. The first ground rule is to eat on a schedule. Parents can help their kids improve their appetite and establish hunger cues by eating on a set schedule. This can also help parents control the types of foods that their child has access to. When a child with ARFID is eating whenever they want and they're reaching for safe foods, it can make it harder for them to eat more challenging foods, because why would they eat broccoli if they're not that hungry and they can just eat chips instead? Dietitians and ARFID specialists often recommend eating 3 meals a day plus 3 snacks at the same time on a daily basis. Eating meals and snacks at the same time every day can help the body learn to anticipate food at that time, which helps build those hunger cues. The second ground rule is practicing engaging in planned exposures and not changing the plan halfway through. As discussed in previous videos, when engaging in an exposure practice, it's important to go in with a specific plan that has a set beginning and an end. This plan needs to be established before engaging in the exposure. It's very important that the challenge is not amended during the exposure practice if a child becomes upset. This is considered a parental accommodation, which is where a child is being rescued from the challenge. It's more valuable in that situation to give the child the option to stop the challenge if they want to, but they won't earn a reward if they do. We don't want to use reducing the challenge as the reward. I also want to emphasize that we're giving the child the opportunity to earn a reward, but we're not punishing a child for feeling unable to complete a task. This is super important. Your child's distress is valid. We're fighting the ARFID, not your child. You can do this by acknowledging your child's emotions in the moment, by helping them label their feelings, and by providing kindness and support. Remind your child of their strengths and their abilities, and unite together to fight the ARFID by doing a challenge and showing the anxiety who is boss. Finally, we want to normalize practice. This means engaging in daily planned exposure. Doing it every day makes trying new things a regular habit rather than something to anticipate. Practicing during mealtimes also normalizes that eating new things is a part of what meals are all about. It's also important to repeatedly revisit challenges. One time is not the goal. We want to expand the diet. In this vein, progressively increasing the amount of the challenge food with each practice is also important to becoming a part of the food repertoire. Now let's get into specific ways to reward your child for their hard work. A great way to do this is by creating a token economy. I usually start this by having a kid create a master list of challenges with varying points. That way they can choose to do challenges that will earn them more points if there's a reward they really want to work towards. This power to choose can also help kids feel a sense of agency when they otherwise might feel like they don't have a lot of control. I also have kids create a rewards menu to choose from, with appetizers having the lowest amount of points to earn, the main course being worth more points, and the desserts being ultimate points prizes. To this end, visual aids are really helpful for kids, whether it's placing tokens in a jar to see how many points they're earning, a rewards menu to see their prizes, or a chart to help track their challenges and progress. Writing down challenges can also remind them of what they've handled in the past, because anxiety loves to take our accomplishments away. Writing out challenges can also help them know exactly what to expect. Reward works for teens too, and can range from things like earning privileges to earning money. I've even had a teen work towards getting a car. So the sky is the limit based off of what you're okay with. Another valuable way to help kids go towards exposure activities is to turn the challenge into a game. Games make challenges fun. With exposure games, we're pairing the aversive with joy so that the aversive can become more joyful. One way to do this is to incorporate food challenges into an existing game that they already love. It's important to establish the challenge rules in advance. For instance, that every turn in the game means doing a new challenge. One way I do this is by incorporating that progressive exposure strategy I discussed in a previous video of having kids start off by smelling the food, touching the food, licking the food, taking a bite and spitting it out, and so on, where they're escalating on each round. As they work up that ladder of difficulty and with harder challenges, they can earn more points. For instance, taking a bite and swallowing it might be worth the most. Another approach is to use a spinner or a dice to randomize what challenge they'll do. For instance, having 6 food items and each number correlating with a different food item. This adds an element of surprise, which actually promotes flexibility, as well as shows children that they can handle harder challenges as well as easier challenges by alternating what's going to happen. I'd like to acknowledge some great resources that I use to inform my treatment of ARFID, and I use to help guide some of the tools and strategies discussed in today's video. Research into the specific treatment of ARFID is still relatively new, and the teams behind the articles and workbooks listed here are doing spectacular work. I'd also like to note that I'm not affiliated with any of these researchers, I'm just a fan of what they're doing. Thanks for checking out this 4th video in my series on ARFID. Check back soon for videos on other topics, including misophonia. If you've liked this video, please rate, review, and subscribe. I'm licensed psychologist Dr. Megan Fay. Thanks for watching.